Hey, hi, and welcome back. So you already know we are just left with the ground connections. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to connect all the ground pads which are present on our hardware with the help of polygon option. Okay, so now let's start with this video. Now, as we are left with only ground connection, so we are good to go ahead and let's do the polygon. Let's create the polygon now. So first of all, we will create the polygon on top layer. So you have to select this particular option, which is polygon. And let's create the polygon now. So likewise, you have to create the polygon on the outside of PCB, because on the top layer there will be entire polygon. Okay, so okay, I will create the polygon once again. I will escape. So what you can do here, in order to create a polygon properly, you can actually go for a default grid and enable that grid, and then okay. So you can see the grid is now little bit bigger. So let's create the polygon now. I will select polygon option. So some of you here will have a question why we are creating, the polygon or the ground plane on the top layer. The reason is we want to connect. The first reason is we want to connect all the connections, all the points with ground pad on the PCB, and ground plane is actually going to provide the return path to all the sections which are present on the PCB. For example, you can see from here the 12 volt is going towards this circuitry. Okay, so current will go from this diode then towards this IC, and then current is going to return from this IC towards this particular point, which is actually the ultimate destination. So current will go come back from this point towards these two pins. And how exactly the path of current is going to be? It's going to be direct. Okay, so from here it's going to follow the track, okay, because there is no other path. Current initially from the power supply is going to flow through this track, and when it's coming back to the origin, it's actually going to follow the return current. It's actually going to follow the straight path, okay, the shortest path, and the shortest path from this point is like this, right? So the current is directly going to come from this. So we pour the ground plane on the top layer and bottom layer in order to provide the shortest path to all the sections. Okay, so there is a RGB LED here. If you connect this ground pad of this RGB LED likewise, through this track, then that ground current is actually going to follow that particular track. Instead of that, if you provide a ground plane, then the current is actually going to, the return current is actually going to come directly from here towards this point. Okay, so it's going to follow the shortest path. So always remember, whenever we create the ground plane, it's actually for two purposes. The first one is for return path, in order to provide the shortest return path, and then the second purpose is for heat distribution. Now in our case, the PCB is not going to heat too much. So in our case, the purpose of ground plane is actually not for heat distribution, but it's actually for the shortest return path. Okay, so now let's create the polygon. So for that, like this I will do, and straight away you have to just create the square. Okay, nothing complicated. You can actually change the angle to right angle here. That will actually help you much. And like this, you have to create the polygon. Now here you have to provide the signal name as ground, because we are creating the ground plane, so you need to provide the signal name as ground. Okay, and later after that click on OK here. So alright, so we have created a polygon with the name of ground, and in order to pour this particular polygon, we will click on rat nest, and you can see now the polygon is poured. But there is a problem here. The problem is the isolation. If you see, the isolation is actually very less, okay, between the polygon and the track. So what we have to do, whenever we create the polygon, we have to give the value of isolation, okay, isolation here, and generally that value should be 10 mil. Okay, so what we will do, I will just rip up this polygon, and in order to rip up the polygon, you have to use this option, which is delete, and just go to the edge, or you can give a command here, rip up. So this is basically the command in order to get rid of polygon. Okay, so we will discuss about this command in next video, and I have dedicated a separate video for the eagle command, so there we will discuss this. First of all, let's create the polygon once again, and for that you need to select the isolation as 10 mil here, and you make sure that the unit is mil here. So let's select the isolation as 10, and after that now let's create the polygon. And now let's give the signal name as GND, and OK, and later I will click on rat nest. So you can see now there is little bit spacing between all the these tracks. Okay, you can also increase the spacing by 20 mil here, but 10 mil spacing is actually enough. Okay, most of the time I'm going to use the 10 mil spacing. Now so you will see that most of the ground or all the grounds which are present on this PCB, they are actually connected. Okay, so all the grounds are connected, and I will just go to the user background color. I will select OK, and you will find that there will be very few air wires which are, or the tracks which are not connected. Okay, so we will talk about those tracks later. So first of all, let's create the polygon on the bottom layer. So let me change the background color to white, and after that now let's go to the bottom layer and let's create the polygon here also. And let me quickly do it, because we are going to create the ground plane on both the side. To connect all the pins on the bottom layer also, we are going to create the ground plane. And after that I am going to click on OK, and then later I will click on rat nest. So all the connections which are there on the ground bottom side, all the ground connections are connected. So you can see these were the ground connections on the bottom side. So I will just go to the schematic, and I will show you all the connections which are basically ground connections on the bottom side. So let me select this option, this. So you can see these are all ground. Okay, ground connection. You will be able to see it in black background. So I will just select this one. You can see, so this entire plane is now ground plane, and these connections you can see they are connected. Again, this one is connected, this one is connected, again this one is connected. So all the connections which are there on the bottom side, they are all connected, and again on the top side also, all the connections which are which are ground connection, they are all connected. Okay, so they are actually highlighted. Alright, so we are done with all the ground connections. Now we are just left with few connections. So in next video we will see which are those connections, and we will complete all those connections. Okay, and we will make our hardware ready. Alright, so now I will see you in the next video.